My name is Logan, and this is my story. I describe my walk with God before the age of 20 kind of as monopoly money. You know, it looks like the real thing, it feels like the real thing, but it was bankrupt. It was very much status quo, and I was very much going through the motions. I knew what it was like to look like a Christian because I grew up in the church, but I didn't really know what it was like to actually be a Christian and what that actually meant to have a personal relationship with God. I was apathetic and I was just spiritually bankrupt. Why did I not log on to my faith until age 20? It's because I was playing a low stakes game. I had no reason to log on. I didn't get into my word. I didn't get into the Bible. I didn't surround myself with Christ-like people. I was running in a race. I was playing JV. I wasn't around people that were playing varsity. So when Sean asked me to start serving, it forced me into a position where I was around people like Christian Smith, and I was around people like Sean and Diane, and it pretty quickly became apparent to me that I couldn't fake my way through it. It was either I was a Christian or I wasn't. I felt like a hypocrite for people to pour into me. You know, I saw Christian really pouring himself into my Christian walk, and Sean pouring himself into my Christian walk. That season of feeling like a hypocrite meant everything, because I had a decision to make. Either I was a Christian or I wasn't a Christian. So I decided I wanted to be a Christian, and that meant I could not be a hypocrite. I couldn't play at church anymore, and I had to actually engage. It required for me to execute everything that I knew intellectually. God really changed my heart on my first mission trip that I took to Colombia, and it was interesting because I went on the trip for still the wrong reasons. It was because it was expected that at some point as a Christian, you just should go on a mission trip. It's just one of the right things to do. But God really got a hold of me during that trip. It was such a transient process. The biggest difference for me to really find God was the community of people I was around. When I found myself more plugged in at real life and serving consistently, I found myself around people that did genuinely love God and not in a superficial way. I was watching Ugo care for his students and pray over a space that students were going to attend and know God more intimately with tears in his eyes. And I saw Scott Hudgens, that he had just a genuine on-fireness about him, where he was preaching the word and he was relating to other people and preaching to kids with such genuineness and such true love for God. And I think seeing that on the mission field in a new context was really huge for me. Just the relationships, chasing coattails of people in front of me was the biggest thing. I have this perspective now, where I was in a spot, you know, a few years ago, or even further back than that, where I was the one that needed help, and there was all these people that were pouring into me, and they had no idea what the repercussions of that was going to be. They didn't know that I would find myself preaching the gospel to the youth. Everything that I have had the opportunity to just humbly participate in is a fruit to their account. Their faithfulness to God's calling goes further than they could ever even imagine. Whether you find yourself serving on a Sunday, whether you find yourself writing a check, it goes further than you'll ever know. And for anybody listening, I just want you to know the power of investing. You know, when you give time, when you give talent, treasure, influence to the cause of Christ, God's gonna use that in not a linear way, but in an exponential way. Like, you couldn't even begin to fathom all the wonders that He is gonna do with your small sacrifice. It's a joy to give, and it's a joy to give time to the church and to His cause. You know, when you look at me, the people that poured into my life and the people that poured into my walk with God, they could have never imagined all the ways that He was going to use that. And now I have the opportunity to feed into other people. So the people that fed into my life, they're not just feeding into Logan, they're feeding into everybody that Logan's going to feed into. And it's like this snowball effect. The person that makes a difference often makes a difference maker. That's the power of investing. And I'm inviting you to join me in leading the next wave of difference makers.